Our property was ours, we bought it, and this man, who is the Archbishop, all of a sudden takes it and makes arrangements to sell to Katy Perry.
The Archbishop has locked us out of the property. They changed the lock on the mailbox, changed all the locks on the doors, changed the gate locks.
We can't even get in on our own property, and it belongs to us. It has not made my life easy, no. Things have been very, very stressful for me. All this litigation.
They've got our money and we can't touch it. We send them our bills and they don't pay them. What are we supposed to do?
It has become common knowledge that Katy Perry wants to buy a convent in Los Angeles. If you believe the press coverage, then you may think that this is simply a case of two buyers vying for the same property. Would you be surprised to find out that this is actually a case about women's rights? For millennia, religious women have persevered silently under the patriarchy of the Catholic Church. Their status has always remained secondary behind the male clergy. Courageously, two women have taken a stand against this injustice.
My name is Sister Rita Callanan. I have been with the Immaculate Heart Sisters since approximately 1963.
My name is Sister Catherine Rose of the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Our order is a pontifical order, which means that we are under the Pope, not the Archdiocese. I first became a sister in 1947, right after I graduated from high school.
For the past few years, the Archdiocese of Los Angeles has been attempting to take over the Sisters Order because the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters own a beautiful, historic property, originally named the Villa San Giuseppe. It is the Immaculate Heart of Mary Mother House Convent. The Archdiocese wants to control the Villa San Giuseppe Immaculate Heart of Mary Convent so they could sell it to pop star Katy Perry. But the Archdiocese does not own the convent. The Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters do. The Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters bought their convent in 1971.
The Sisters of the Immaculate Heart obtained the villa from Sir Daniel Donahue. He sold it to us for $600,000. Sir Daniel Donahue was a benefactor of ours and a Knight of St. Gregory, and he was the Pope's right-hand man, and he supported us. He sent us checks. He was always there for us. He was our friend, benefactor, and supporter.
In 1975, the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters allowed the Archdiocese to open a priest retreat on their convent property. It was called the House of Prayer. It was located in a small guest house.
First of all, it started off with Father McAnulty, a Jesuit priest, came and asked Sister Gabriel Marie Keenan, who was the Superior General, could he have a room so that he could do spiritual direction with priests. He was given a room. Then it became more and more, and then he was given what we call the casetta. It was a smaller place down on the property. When it became very apparent that the priests needed more space, then they took the casetta, and we no longer had access to it.
In 1985, the Donahue Manor was built.
Donahue Manor was built by Donahue and funded by Donahue, and it was for our older retired sisters and 6 sisters, and it was meant that we would be there for the rest of our lives at Donahue Manor.
In 1992, the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters enter into an agreement with the Archdiocese. The terms are as follows. If the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters are ever financially insolvent and need to ask the Archbishop for money, the Archdiocese will take over their financial care. And in exchange, the Archdiocese may inherit the Immaculate Heart of Mary property after all of the sisters have passed on. The Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters will live for the rest of their lives on their convent property in Donahue Manor. It explicitly states that all disputes between the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the Archdiocese must be litigated at the Vatican only.
That agreement was reached privately without our knowledge, and technically, according to canon law, our sisters could not have entered into an agreement with the Archdiocese. The interesting part of that agreement was that if and when the sisters needed care, they would be given help by the Archdiocese after our funds ran out. The important thing about it is that, and it came from Rome, is that our sisters would be taken care of down to the very last sister at Donahue Manor.
In 1993, the Immaculate Heart of Mary signs a 99-year lease with the Archdiocese to expand the House of Prayer. Under the terms of the lease, the Archdiocese pays no rent to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The expanded House of Prayer opens in 1995. In 1994, the Archdiocese takes over an additional portion of the Immaculate Heart of Mary property to build a meditation garden. This meditation garden area is not part of the House of Prayer lease.
The priest took property that we did not give them and turned it into a meditation garden. This meditation garden was filled with all kinds of fountains and things, which they never paid the water bill, which is way over $250,000 that they owe us for water.
The Archdiocese then blocks off the meditation garden and denies access to the sisters and their retreat guests. In 2005, Father Tom Anslow is appointed Pontifical Commissary for the Immaculate Heart of Mary.
It was a conflict of interest. He could not be working for the Archbishop and be our Pontifical Commissary. He was supposed to be somebody to take care of us, to watch out for our order. The only thing he did was to shut us all down.
In the beginning of 2011, the Immaculate Heart Sisters were still running a fully operational retreat house, filming location, meeting center, and retirement home. The sisters earned millions of dollars annually and were fully independent of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. In March 2011, Cardinal Mahoney retires, and Archbishop Jose Gomez takes over as the head of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. The sisters' operations and sources of income begin to be shut down. Why? Why did Father Tom Anslow begin shutting down the Immaculate Heart of Mary Order? Who told him to do so?
I believe that Archbishop Gomez did. Who else? Archbishop Gomez is the head of he's the local ordinary. He's the head of the archdiocese. Who else would have told him to stop the sisters from getting any income? Because I think, and it is my opinion, he wanted our property. Money, 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 money.
The Archdiocese breaks into the Immaculate Heart of Mary offices.
Monsignor Weber was there with a battery drill in his hand. He had gone to the office and drilled one of the filing cabinets open and took all our files, all our financial records, took 8 boxes of things from our files. And I still think what they were looking for was the deed of the house.
The Archdiocese removes the sisters from their convent in Donahue Manor.
I feel that Father Tom was not honest with us in telling us why we had to move or to stop filming and all that. He did not share the reason with us. We were just told one day at a meeting that he came to that I have found a place for all of you. And he named the place where all of us were to go. I think he wanted us to move because they had plans for the villa and they want to get started on it. They also wanted to get us out because maybe I think of right now, maybe he thought at that time that Katy Perry has it and we've got to get things out.
In this letter from the Vatican confirming Anslow's resignation, it is clear that they've been misled about the tenets of the 1992 agreement between the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the Archdiocese. The letter assumes that moving the Immaculate Heart of Mary sisters away from their convent is a clause in the 1992 agreement. When in fact, the opposite is true. The 1992 agreement explicitly states that the Immaculate Heart of Mary sisters shall live out the remainder of their lives at Donahue Manor, and only when all the sisters have passed on may the Archdiocese inherit their property. In December 2014, Daniel Donahue dies.
The week after he passed away, in December the 4th, 2014, I call it all hell broke loose.
After Daniel Donahue dies, the Archbishop notifies the sisters that he is planning to sell their property.
I think that he just simply wants the money from the villa, which is his desire to sell to Katy Perry. I think he made that arrangement long before he even told the sisters he was going to sell the property. And then he did not tell the sisters to whom he was selling. It was a neighbor that told me who was going to buy it, that it was going to be Katy Perry. And of course, they were not happy about Katy Perry.
Katy Perry opens a corporation named Bird Nest LLC. The purpose of Bird Nest LLC was to purchase a mansion in Los Angeles named the Chateau Emmanuel. Bird Nest would have 3 years to obtain the necessary city entitlements for priest activities and lodging at the chateau. During this 3-year chateau entitlement, no payments would be made on the Immaculate Heart of Mary convent property. After the entitlements are secured, Bird Nest would deed the chateau to the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters Corporation. The priest house of prayer would then move to the chateau, safe from archdiocese creditors. After the 3-year chateau entitlement, the remaining $10 million of the Katy Perry convent purchase would flow into archdiocese control. None of the Katy Perry sales proceeds would go to the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters, the rightful owners of the property. Dana Hollister.
Dana wanted it so badly, and we thought she's going to leave it open to the public. Katy Perry said she was going to close it. It was going to be her home. And God only knows what would happen to it because of the historical place. But Dana was going to keep it open to the public, which Donahue wanted, and she would make a hotel.
Dana Hollister's original offer to purchase the convent was $15.5 million. The Immaculate Heart of Mary's Sisters liked Dana's offer because it was higher than Katy Perry's. The proceeds would go directly to them, the rightful owners of the property, and the property would remain open to the public as Daniel Donahue wished. So the sisters opened escrow with Dana. With the unanimous consent of the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters. After escrow was opened, the sisters attempted to present their sale to the Archbishop. He refused to see them. This is not the first time the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters found themselves in a dispute with the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. In 1970, the Immaculate Heart of Mary Order wanted to implement Vatican II reforms that would have allowed for more liberation in the lives of nuns. Cardinal of Los Angeles at the time, James McIntyre, was defiant of the Vatican II modernizations for religious women.
He was not about to allow his religious women that were in his archdiocese to be, I guess, liberated. And our sisters were in so many of the parishes, and they felt that if our sisters stood up to him, he couldn't stop it, that they would be allowed to continue with their own way of life and so forth. They didn't have to be in by 6 o'clock and, totally wearing the veil at all times. So when Cardinal McIntyre said, well, you're gonna obey me, and they said no, because our sisters felt that he could not throw us out of 200 and some schools that we were teaching in. And he said, you're out. The Sisters of the Immaculate Heart lost a great deal.
On June 9th, 2015, the sisters find out that the Archdiocese intends to force a sale of their convent property to Katy Perry against their wishes. To preserve their legacy, the sisters pursue the buyer who will help them retain the proceeds of the sale so that they may continue to care for themselves and do their good works. On June 10th, 2015, the sisters close escrow and sell their convent to Dana Hollister. Under the terms of their sale, the sisters would owner finance, and Dana would accept the property encumbered by the House of Prayer lease. The Archdiocese responds by suing to block the sisters' sale in California court. This is another violation of the 1992 agreement by the Archdiocese. Under the terms of the 1992 agreement, all disputes between the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters and the Archdiocese must be settled in the Vatican. Instead, Archdiocese lawyers have the sisters removed as officers from their Immaculate Heart of Mary nonprofit California corporation. They seize all Immaculate Heart of Mary bank accounts, and they lock the sisters out of their convent property.
The Archbishop has locked us out of the property. Started with the front gate. They changed the lock on the mailbox, changed all the locks on the doors, changed the gate locks, put in a lot of iron gates and changed their locks. And we couldn't even get into the building if we wanted to.
If it were not for the fact that the sisters said, yeah, the priest will give them down below the property, this Archbishop wouldn't even be able to step his foot in the property. It's not his property, it's our property, which of course at the moment he is, we can't even get in on our own property, and it belongs to us.
Libellus. A libellus is a formal filing to the courts of the Vatican. Sister Rita filed a libellus in June 2015, chronicling all the injustice done to the Immaculate Heart of Mary at the hands of the Archdiocese.
Our case right now is in Rome. We are a pontifical order. That means we are under the Pope. We are not under the Archbishop. No, 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 no. Our property was ours. We bought it. And this man, who is the Archbishop, all of a sudden takes it and makes arrangements to sell to Katy Perry. Now, he showed me a letter and said that gave him the authority. I did not believe his letter. I believed it was a fraud. I really did.
Why?
Well, because it's not signed by two people. It doesn't have the stamp.
The Archdiocese refuses to stop litigating against the sisters' sale. In November 2015, Dana Hollister presents an offer to the Archdiocese, increasing her purchase price to $17.5 million. The Archdiocese refuses. In February 2016, Dana presents her increased offer again to the Archdiocese, now with $7 million for the House of Prayer. The Archdiocese still refuses to stop litigating. Nuns within the Catholic Church are not eligible for retirement benefits. So the Immaculate Heart of Mary sisters built up their own funds to care for themselves in their retirement. Until the Archdiocese took it. If the Immaculate Heart of Mary sisters have no money, then it triggers one of the clauses of the 1992 agreement, which says the Archdiocese may inherit the Immaculate Heart of Mary property if the Immaculate Heart of Mary has to ask them for financial help.
They stood in the courtroom and said that, as you well know, the Archdiocese has taken care of the sisters. Now that is a big lie, because the Archbishop has never, ever taken care of us. We've never had to ask for a penny. If you have $6 million, why would you have to ask for help?
And the Archbishop needs to give us back our money. He has stolen our money. One particular thing is the $250,000 that was left to us by Sir Daniel Donahue, and they have it.
Now that the Archdiocese controls the Immaculate Heart of Mary bank accounts, the sisters have no alternative but to seek help from them.
We send them the bills, and then we think they're paid, and then we get notices of non-payment or telephone or texts on telephone to say you have 5 days to pay, or there'll be a penalty, or you will be cut. So a lot of things were stopped by the Archdiocese so that we cannot touch anything. We have 3 bank accounts with money in it and we can't touch it.
And they are supposed to be paying our bills.
Are they?
No, they're not paying our bills. Would you say getting a letter of cancellation from your insurance shows that they are paying the bills? No.
Dana Hollister helps the sisters when they are in need.
Anytime we couldn't get our money from the bank, Dana came through and helped us out. She gave us $250,000 for a few months, and that pulled us through. And she still is helping us and says not to worry. If the Archdiocese doesn't pay your bills, let me know. I don't want anything stopped. I want you to be able to live and be happy and be content at your age.
In 2017, Katy Perry and Bird Nest lose the entitlements for the Chateau Emmanuel. At a community meeting, the neighbors of the chateau objected to the proposed future occupants. Now that the Archdiocese Katy Perry arrangement has been derailed by the chateau's community, the Archdiocese and Katy Perry set a course to recover their legal fees from the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters convent buyer, Dana Hollister. In November 2017, the Archdiocese and Katy Perry push to go to trial in Los Angeles court against Dana Hollister. Their strategy is to vilify and intimidate. In court, they accused Dana Hollister of bullying and threatening the sisters into selling her the property and making the sisters relinquish their vows.
We asked Dana to take it. We did. She did not coerce us. She did not threaten us. She did not give us money because she's buying us. We asked her all along.
In court, Archdiocese lawyers say that there were no proceedings underway at the Vatican regarding the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters property dispute with the Archdiocese. Even though the sisters have an official complaint filed and under review at the Vatican regarding the Archdiocese, including another amended libellus that was filed November 3rd, 2015. In court, Archdiocese and Katy Perry lawyers also accused Dana Hollister of being a serial nun abuser.
Serial nun abuser.
Abuser? We wouldn't be where we are or living the way we are if it weren't for her. They've got our money and we can't touch it. We send them our bills and they don't pay them. What are we supposed to do? Go out on the street and beg, sell pencils. It's awful.
Even though the Hollister purchase price has always been higher than Katy Perry's offer, in court, Archdiocese lawyer Kirk Dillman accuses Dana of making an inferior deal and that the Archdiocese deal with Katy Perry is for the sisters' benefit.
It is not for our benefit. We're not getting that money. That was a big joke. And then for that Dillman to get up there in court and say the Archbishop now has to care. He insinuated that Dana wasn't giving what she was supposed to give, and that therefore the Archbishop now has to care for us. This is not true. And we are not getting the money. What we're asking for is we want to sell our own property. We want to take care of our own affairs. We've been able to do that all along.
If they were doing things for the benefit of the sisters, they'd let us do our own work. They'd give us back our money. They'd give us back our corporation. They'd give us back our property to do what we want with it. They would give us back everything they've taken away from us.
In court, Archdiocese lawyers imply that it is somehow questionable that the sisters are concerned about where the money from the sale of their property is going to go. because nuns take a vow of poverty.
And then they stood up there and said something about we have a vow of poverty. Come on, we ran a multi-million-dollar business with the villa. We had all kinds of things that we did for the community, all kinds.
With his appointed role as Immaculate Heart of Mary commissary, the Archbishop is supposed to be seen to the care of all of the sisters.
I don't call that care. I don't call it anything except abuse, elder abuse.
The Sisters of the Immaculate Heart have had a tremendous influence in this archdiocese. This Archbishop doesn't even know that we exist. He kept our names out, the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart. We're not in the Catholic directory. My name is not even under the index of religious, so I don't exist. Phew, she's gone.
Why are these women standing up against such odds?
All that's going on right now is not right, and they can't get away with it. It has too many people worried, scared to death, and they're walking away scot-free.
Why do these sisters keep persevering?
The priests are telling us to keep going because they'd like to say and do a few things, but they're afraid to do it because they know what'll happen to them. Other communities that are scared to death, the same thing's going to happen to them. They want to know what's going on.
Dana Hollister increased her offer to $30 million. At the sisters' request, she made the new offer directly to the Vatican. The $30 million offer includes funds for the Immaculate Heart of Mary Sisters, the Archdiocese, the House of Prayer, the lawyers, and Katy Perry. And the Archdiocese and Katy Perry continue to litigate. The jury enters a $16 million verdict against Dana Hollister based upon the testimony by Archdiocese and Katy Perry lawyers. After the trial,
They just got lost in the whole case because it's so big. And they stress so much of what the fight is really not all about. All it was about was to defame Dana, knock her down, squish her, step on her, destroy her life for the rest of her life. I don't know how they go to bed and live with themselves at night. I really don't. Or if they get the money, they're using stolen money to buy a house or to buy a car or to buy whatever because they're so hungry for it. All of this is just all about money. Lawyers getting paid. It's not about the sisters. The judge was so biased for the Archdiocese. Every single time we went, we could see it. She had pre-planned her thing, and I heard from one of the jurors that before that verdict came in, the judge told them she is guilty, and that's why they voted the way they did. They didn't know what else to do.
what next?
Right now, what's happening in Rome is that it's at the highest level. It's like our Supreme Court. And it's at the very highest level. Now, they have got to do something. They've got to step in and say the sisters can sell the property to whom they want.
On February 12, 2018, the sisters received notice of a decree from the Vatican. The decree supports the Archbishop in the Immaculate Heart of Mary property dispute. The decree states the opinion that Sister Catherine Rose acted audaciously when she signed to sell the convent that she and the Immaculate Heart of Mary sisters own.
It's very hard to even digest. I am feeling very sad and honestly very angry to think that our own church people have turned against us. We did not act audaciously. We did not. And I think it's a sad day for women religious in our archdiocese and women religious throughout the United States. This is a sad day.
Archbishop Gomez went to Rome to give his opinion of this Immaculate Heart of Mary property dispute.
Why was the Archbishop allowed to go and testify before the Signatura? Why weren't we called and asked to testify? Rome has not asked our side of the story. Again, what a sad day for women religious.
Archdiocese and Katy Perry's lawyers are now trying to foreclose on Dana's house.
Things have been very, very stressful for me. All this litigation, all this business with the Archbishop, it's been very, very hard. You would think at my age, I would be able to be quiet, and I'm still in active ministry. That's what's so funny about it, is that, I'm still active, and you would think that at this particular time, I would be able to have more quiet time and so forth, but all these court dates and this litigation and what's happening right now, the way the Archbishop has slandered Dana Hollister, no, it has not made my life easy, no.